Welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast. As loved ones of first responders and military personnel, we often face life situations and challenges that many others don't experience. And while each of us and our experiences are unique, together we can learn from one another and become stronger in this journey of life. Now let's step out of mediocrity. It's time to thrive. Hi, Waiting Warriors. Welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast today. I have a great guest for you today. Her name is Codi, and I know we just had, when you guys are listening to this, we'll have had another interview 2 weeks ago with another girl named Codi. They're both not sharing their names because I think everybody understands why we want to stay anonymous sometimes. But this is Codi with a D. The other one's with a T. So just so you guys don't get it mixed up. We're getting all fancy here. So, hi, Codi, and welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, Codi is a military spouse, and I'll let her kind of explain her situation. If you guys want, before I forget, she is on Instagram, just at Codi is her name. So, like CODIISHERNAME. Whoa, I had to focus on how to spell names.
Yeah.
That was really difficult, guys. It's been a long time since I've been in school. Or since I had to spell. Because I didn't spell in my school. Anyways, let's get to it. Cody, why don't you tell us what your family situation is and where you guys are kind of in the military journey.
Oh my gosh, okay. So me and my husband have been married for 5 years next month, so it's kind of exciting. It's kind of been a really long 5 years, kind of back and forth, lots of deployments and TDYs, and then our children, so that's been crazy. We are in the process of waiting right now, like season of waiting. My husband is getting orders soon, and we don't know what's happening and if that's going to be stateside or overseas, or if he's going overseas for a year by himself. So I guess we'll just see what happens, but that's always exciting to be like, hurry up and wait, like here's my list, but just wait for this. So that's where we're at right now. So I don't know what's gonna happen. We're crossing fingers we're together, but I don't know if it's gonna happen or not.
Yeah. And then you have 2 daughters, right?
We have 2. Yep, we have 2 daughters. Hadley will be 3 in February, and Ember just turned 1 in October. And then we unfortunately did lose a child before Hadley. So that's been kind of like the forefront of some of the things that I've talked about on my blog.
Right. Okay. And then, so not only have you lost a baby, and not only has your husband been gone a lot and your military experience has been crazy, but your Hadley and
Ember,
they have medical problems, right?
Hadley does, yes, ma'am. So Hadley was born with a tethered spinal cord, and she had to have spinal cord surgery when she was 13 months old. And I was pregnant with Ember at the time too, so it was crazy having to hand your 13-month-old over to a neurosurgeon and be like, please don't hurt her any more than what she is. So that was very scary, and she spent a couple of days in the PICU, but we were really lucky. She was born, so how it was is she had a hemangioma on the outside of the base of her spinal cord, and then the inside there was an internal one as well, and it was connected by a fiber, and it was tethering her cord down. So they had to go in there and actually sever the connection. So that's what they did when she was 13 months old. And then she had chronic ear infections after that, and then her chronic ear infections were untreated because they don't like to treat ear infections, I guess. So she had 2 complex febrile seizures because of an untreated double ear infection, and spent 4 days in the hospital because they're like, no, she doesn't have an ear infection. And then when they started treating the ear infection, her fevers went away. So we've been kind of back and forth with all of that, and she's had UTIs, and then now she has speech problems because of her ear infections. So it's been exciting with her.
You're always on your toes.
I am. It's hard, but we deal with it.
Right, but so you have, from my perspective, so you have this big emotional roller coaster that we all go through with your
Right.
husband's job. Um,
Right.
Not only with his job being what his job is, being in the military, but
Mhm.
also with him being gone a lot and then coming home and then being gone and then coming home.
Mhm.
Um, I know you said that during a lot of those TDYs you weren't able to talk a ton, so that adds a whole nother emotional, mental whirlwind roller
Right.
coaster to it.
Right.
And then you lost a baby, which
Mhm.
is a tornado on its own. And
Yeah.
then you have a baby and she has a whole bunch of health problems, which even just ear infections. I feel like when your husband isn't home and then one kid gets an ear infection and then you're sick and it's like you get sucked into this. We're never going to be healthy.
Right.
It, it's draining. So there's that roller coaster, but your daughter hasn't even just had ear infections. Like they've been actual real complications.
Yes.
And then you had another daughter,
Yes.
relatively close. I mean,
Yeah. They're 19 and a half months apart.
right. So that's pretty close.
Yes.
Um, so you have that roller coaster, but then I know all of that kind of spiraled into a big postpartum depression and anxiety journey for you.
Yes.
So was that with Hadley or not until?
So I think that I experienced it a little bit after Hadley. And then I got pregnant really quickly with Ember, and we didn't think we were going to because it took forever to get pregnant with Hadley. And then we lost our baby, and then we finally got pregnant with Hadley. So we thought it was going to be a lot longer of a process, but it wasn't. So thankfully she's here. But I had a really bad dream when I was 6.5 weeks pregnant. So my dream, I got shot in the top of my head, but I was alive in my dream. I didn't die. I was like talking, I was alive. And I woke up, and when I woke up, I had terrible headaches. And it was like hormone induced from my pregnancy, but I was convinced that I had a brain tumor and I was dying. And I made my OB give me a brain MRI when I was like 10.5 weeks pregnant. I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a tumor in there and I'm going to die. And that's why like I'm having these terrible headaches. She's like, Codi, you're crazy. That's not what it is. And it wasn't. I don't have a tumor. I didn't have a tumor. It was just like pregnancy induced headaches. But for some reason, that anxiety struck me at 6.5 weeks and it just lingered. And then with Hadley having spinal cord surgery, and then we PCS when I was 27 weeks pregnant. And then I started gushing blood at 33 weeks pregnant with Ember. And they did not know why. They still don't know why. They think maybe a hidden placental abruption, but they don't know what caused it. So I was in the hospital from 33 to 37, and they induced me right at 37 with Ember. So there was that. And then right after I got home, Hadley started having all these ear infections, and then she had her febrile seizures. And I think all that stress combined, and we knew my husband was deploying from this last April to October, so I was going to be alone with the girls for 6 months. So I think all of that combined, it just kind of like bubbled over the surface, and I couldn't control it, and I was just like spiraling. Basically, my postpartum was terrible, and I didn't know like the resources that I could like reach out and get help with. I didn't know that so many other women had gone through what I had gone through as well. So I think it was hard for me because I was like, I can't be like this with 2 children and my husband is leaving or going on TDYs. Like I have to be sane for them. But I just felt like I was crazy basically because of everything. And I think it was just a mix of everything. Like just like stir the pot a little bit more and see what else can, bubble over and see what happens to this person because she's gonna go crazy.
Right. But it's like you weren't even just gonna be left home with your kids. Like I would. Like you're being left home with a kid who needs help.
Yeah. Who
Instantly.
has
You were just in the hospital for
Yep.
3 weeks or 4.
A whole month before I had Ember, yes.
Dang, girl.
Yes. So I think that's I think that month is probably what set me farther into like the postpartum than even though like she wasn't here that month, but still like, and then everything that happened afterwards, it was just like I couldn't catch my breath and I couldn't breathe and I didn't know like how to be okay because it was just one stressor after another.
So did you give birth in a military hospital, or were you?
I didn't. And so I'm one of those people, and I just don't like to give birth at military hospitals. So I see civilian doctors, and that's who I trust, and that's who has delivered both my babies. And I'm sure military hospitals are great, but for me, it just wasn't an option.
Right. I'm just curious, did someone talk to you before you left the hospital? Because they would have known that you had just been there for a month. I would assume that they would have known that your daughter had problems. It probably came up that your husband was going to be going away. Did anybody talk to you? Did they give you any resources or anything like that?
No.
No?
No. So everyone was very well aware that I was in the hospital for a month. I mean, I spent a whole month in the postpartum unit. So they treated me super good in labor and delivery because they're like, well, this girl is probably going to pay a crap ton of money, even though, I mean, we did, but we didn't. So whatever. But yeah, nobody talked to me. And I think it's a lot of Hadley's stuff is with military doctors, minus her neurosurgeon and her hematologist. And well, never mind. Her ENT is through the military and her pediatrician, but everyone else is civilian. So my civilian hospital probably didn't know what was going on with Hadley. But they, like all the nurses knew my husband and knew he was military, knew like a deployment was happening because we literally found out, I think it was like 3 days before I got induced with Ember, we found out that this deployment was going to happen. So I was like, oh, okay. So talking to my nurse friends about it. But no, there was no resources given to me. And I think that's like one of the really crappy things because you're set, you want to be a mom and you know you want this child and you want to like take care of them, but nobody actually follows up to make sure that moms are okay. Right. And you have to like physically reach out. And I think a lot of my reaching out, I'm not like the most like, you need to help me and you need to help me right now because like I'm in a dire need, like I'm going crazy type thing. Mm-hmm. Mine was like, oh, I kind of feel this way, like I know this isn't the way I'm supposed to feel, like what are my options? And nobody ever gave me any options.
That's unfortunate. So you're feeling like you're going crazy, you're trying to reach out, but then not given any options. So what do you do? Did you just
I did reach out to my OB and she put me on Zoloft about, I think I was 6 weeks postpartum with Ember, and the Zoloft made my ears ring like hardcore, and I felt like I was going crazier because of the constant ringing in my ears. So I stopped taking it, and it was right before Christmas of last year, and stopped taking it. And then I wasn't on anything from I guess Christmas of 2017 to July 2018. So I kind of suffered through all of that and felt like had numerous panic attacks, didn't know who to talk to, didn't know what to do. I guess I didn't put the two and two together that it was even postpartum that I was like dealing with. So looking back on it, I should have known, but now yes, but in that situation, I think you're just like something is legitimately the matter with me, but nobody will tell me what's going on with me though. And I think like even as like a second time mom, you still need help. You still need somebody to be like, hey, like here's all the warning signs and you are hitting every single one of these plus like 20,000 more. Like you need help probably. And nobody ever told me that. So I don't know.
Kind of suffered. So you suffered until July, trying your best just to cope and get through it. And then what happened?
I had a terrible panic attack with both my children. So my ears started tingling, my face started tingling, I couldn't see straight. All my fingers and my toes were tingling. My chest was hurting. I felt like I was like literally having a heart attack. Like it was the worst panic attack that I've ever had in my whole entire life. And it ended up me in the emergency room. We were in Florida, actually, and they sent psych in and asked me all these questions. And they're like, well, you definitely have anxiety and depression all brought on by postpartum. But it took, Ember was, 9 months old before somebody actually was like, okay, this girl actually does have postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, and how can we help her? But it took me having a terrible panic attack with both my children, seeing it, in order for somebody to sit down and want to help me.
Okay. So what would you say to somebody who is in the thick of it and not being asked the questions that maybe they should? What would you suggest to them to do for themselves? Because I'm assuming you wouldn't suggest that they just wait around until somebody approaches them.
No, I wish I would have been more assertive about what was going on with me, and the constant panic attacks. I'm not talking 1 or 2 or 3 a day. I'm talking probably 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 panic attacks a day, and constantly being in tears, and that mom guilt that we always have, but it was magnified by 20. And I couldn't do the things that I like to do. I couldn't make friends. I couldn't talk to people normally. Getting in the car and driving was giving me anxiety. Seeing a commercial of a dog outside, I would cry about, or a baby crying or something like that. So if I could tell anybody anything, I would say you have to be assertive, and you have to tell them what's going on, because we all like to sugarcoat things, and we all like to pretend we're better than what we actually are. But when you're dealing with postpartum, it's not something that you can sugarcoat. You can't be oh, I'm fine, don't worry about me, I'll get through this, I'll get better. And some people do get better that way, but there's other people who are like me, and you don't get better. You need the medication, or you need to talk to a therapist in order to get these feelings out and make it so you are better. So I think you need to surround yourself with friends and family, for one. You need that village, you need the tribe, you need support from everybody. And if those people know what you're going through, and they can reach out to you and talk to you and text you and call you and be hey, are you doing okay? Do you need anything? That's where I would start. I would start with that. And then you need to call your doctor, and you need to get an appointment, and you need to tell them exactly what is going on, because sugarcoating things and just sitting on it, unfortunately, does not make things better.
Yeah. So why do you think that you did sugarcoat it, and that you weren't as assertive?
I like to pretend that everything is perfect all the time, and that our life is together, and our life was just, I think, imploding around me, and everything was happening at the same exact time, that I couldn't get control of what was happening with Hadley, her seizures. I couldn't stop that. I couldn't control that. And then Jeremiah deploying, and then Ember having RSV and being in the hospital, and just so many medical things, and then military things. I wanted to control everything, and I felt if I didn't tell anybody what was going on with me, I had control over that, and I didn't have control over it. I literally felt my brain was going to explode sometimes, and I think that's why I just wanted control over something, and I didn't have control over anything. So I was trying to control myself, but I was still spiraling.
Right. That's just I wish that the medical system, or whatever, healthcare system, was more perfect. And I know some hospitals are better at it than the other, but I wish it was just everybody was more aware of this. But I'm really appreciative for you for talking about it. I know you're very, very open on Instagram and your blog about what happened, because you don't want it to happen.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
But okay, so now you're not out of it. It's only been a few months, right? Am I following the timeline right?
Yes.
Right. So it's only been a few months. It's probably still a struggle.
Right.
Every day, but days are better.
Yeah.
So how like what gives you hope on the daily to keep pushing on and to not let yourself sink back?
So I think starting my blog has been a very big like eye opener for me and has helped. Like I always tell my mom and all my friends, like it has been the best unpaid therapy that I've ever given myself, just by like talking about things and writing about things, and people I don't even know like messaging me and being like, hey, I feel this way too, but I'm not strong enough to talk about it. Thank you for being strong for me. Mm-hmm. That has given me so much like strength, I guess, and like courage to just like continue to talk about things that not all of us can talk about. And I don't even know why I initially started my blog or started talking about like what I talk about. It was just on my heart, and I kept praying about it, honestly. And I was like, is this something that I should do? And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I just did it and jumped in and hoped that I reached at least one person and just helped one person, because if I can help one person, then that was my initial goal from the beginning. And I've gotten so many messages about thank you, and that has been great. So that has been one of the main things that has helped me to continue on. And just looking back at how far I've come from, I mean, it's what's today? January 4th. January 4th compared to July 20th. Like, I feel like I'm totally different. Sometimes I can control my anxiety a lot better than what I was able to do. I don't have panic attacks every single day. I can go like, a good week or even 2 or 3 weeks without having a panic attack now. And they're very far and few between. And I know the signs. I still don't know what triggers my anxiety. I don't know what triggers my panic attacks all the time, but I am getting better and I'm not so crazy anymore. And I think looking back, my daughters have helped me a ton. I need to be strong for them. And like everything Hadley goes through, I need to be strong for her and be present and take her to those appointments, which I was taking her to the appointments before, but like actually like be there and pay attention and know that like she is getting better. And I think that was the part of my anxiety as well, because I always thought like Hadley wasn't going to like talk and she wasn't going to do like certain things, but she is, and she's hitting all her milestones slowly, but we're getting there. But I think that's a big thing. And then my husband just being like, okay, Codi, like you breathe, it's going to be fine. I'm here. And when I can talk to you, I can talk to you. He still works a lot. He's home right now. He works a lot, but he tries to help me. So, but I think looking back, how far I've come since July, that's a big deal. And then trying to help everybody else and help myself in the process.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, my applause to you. Last question, though.
Yes.
Is your key to thriving that you want to share with your fellow waiting warriors?
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question because I feel like it's so different for all of us. My key to thriving, I think, and this is going to sound so weird because I'm so bad at this right now and I have to get so much better, but I think you need to find like a group of women that you could like, you have kids the same age, or you understand one another, or they like similar things, like just sitting at the kitchen table and drinking coffee and talking about, I don't know, The Bachelor or something like that. Like you can connect with other people and they can become your family, because you're so far away from your family and you don't have the support. You don't have like, oh, hey mom, can you come over and watch my kids today? Like you need somebody that's going to be there for you. And I'm getting better about it slowly. I'm kind of like in my shell a lot, but I think if you can find people that you can connect with and you can trust and they can love you like you're a part of their family and you can love them a part of your family, I think that is the best key to thriving in a military community.
Do you think that's possible to get the same connection and support online?
I would say maybe. Okay, personal, like face-to-face conversations is great. But I have met some amazing people like on Instagram and on Facebook, and I never thought that you could be like friends with somebody like over the internet. Like, hey, how are you doing today? I really like your post. Like, keep up the good work. But I think it's very possible, but you do have to have human interaction too.
Yeah.
Like, just don't limit yourself to a screen. You can have those friends, but I would still say go out and make like a human friends in person. So
Some real friends.
yes.
You should be able to like touch them. Not that
Yes.
you have to touch them all the time, but like you should be able to.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I don't mean that in a like I'm not supportive of online friends. I'm very supportive of online.
Yes,
That's why
exactly.
I started the podcast and the Instagram so that way, I mean, selfishly, I wanted to connect with people and I wanted to provide a way for people to connect with people. So that's why I started the podcast, so you could tell your story and other people could tell their stories, so then we could find each other. Because I think it's really easy to, I think you can find the friends that you need physically, but sometimes it's hard when you're going through a very specific thing like postpartum depression to find another friend who's going through postpartum depression who's physically there.
Right.
So that's why I'm really grateful that you came on the show to talk about this. So then hopefully there are people who can reach out, and even if they are quiet followers or whatever you listeners need, I just hope you can find that in this community, that there are people like you and you don't have to suffer in silence. Or if you do want to suffer in silence, because some people aren't big talkers, you just don't have to suffer alone.
Exactly.
Important.
Hey, social media is awesome. That's why I'm so thankful for social media, because I don't think I would have had the courage to actually talk about what I've talked about in like a face-to-face setting. So I'm glad there's sometimes a computer screen between me and everybody else, so I can get my feelings out without like crying and being an emotional mess in front of people.
Right. And then when you are ready to do that face-to-face, you'll do that face-to-face with somebody. And that's great. But it's like a stepping stone, I feel like.
It is. It really is.
It's good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, listeners. Again, she is on Instagram. Codi is her name. And is your blog Codi is her name too?
Yes.
I always
so I'm not like technological savvy yet, and I don't know how to make a Facebook. I don't know how to make a website. So I'm on Facebook too. It's just facebook.com/Codi is her name. But Codi is Codi. If you spell it any other way, you're not going to find me.
Sounds good. And I will link that in the show notes. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Please, if you are struggling, reach out to your doctor. If you need somebody just to see if what you're struggling with is postpartum, reach out to Codi. If it sounds familiar, then you know.
Yes, please.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. And all you listeners, you guys have a great day. Bye. Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I know I've been learning so much, so please share with any friends and family you know. Whether you know someone who is a waiting warrior, or if you just think one episode can shed some light to friends and family about what you're going through. Share! And always remember, we're stronger together, and here we can thrive. Until next time, have an awesome day.